Hi, I'm Steve Morgan and welcome back here to Practice Based Evidence headquarters here in Cardiff. The last video that I presented to you focused very much on the place of risk-averse decisions within this wider context of positive risk-taking. Is there indeed a place to be risk-averse when we're talking about taking risks, being positive, being constructive, moving forward towards those positive outcomes? Well, I want to reorientate you in a way in this video to think in a slightly different way about those challenges that we're constantly confronted with when we're making those very difficult, very challenging decisions. And to do that, I want to use a few quotes. The first one is from Michelle Obama. And she said, "You can't make decisions based on fear and the possibility of what might happen." So that's an important reflection when we think back to that idea of risk-averse decisions. You can't make decisions based on fear and the possibilities of what might happen. I said in the last video that risk-averse decisions are the right ones if they're based in very clear reasoning. They're not the right ones if they're just a response to a sense of fear, or a response to, shall I say, the what-if syndrome, where we're constantly coming up with what if A should happen, what if B should happen, maybe. Ultimately what we're saying is there are barriers. What-ifs are always going to be those barriers to prevent action, create inaction. And that's not the best way forward in helping people to achieve what they see as being important for them personally. And there's another issue that this what-if syndrome brings up for me. It can be damaging to the relationship you have with other people. So if they're continually coming up with ideas, desires, wishes, and our response is, yes, but what if? Then it's not going to take very long before people realise that we're not listening to them in the most constructive of ways. We're the barrier quite often to what it is they want to achieve. The second quote I want to mention is attributed to Mark Twain. And he said, "Good decisions come from experience. And experience comes from making bad decisions." It's an important quote in a way that reminds us that not everything is going to go right. Our experiences are not always going to fall in line with the desired way we want to go forward. Ultimately, it's a good way of saying we can't eliminate risk. Our business is very much about minimising risk, minimising the harms if risk was to take place. So this idea that good decisions come out of experience is a vitally important one to remind us, have the confidence in our decision-making abilities. But it's equally important to remind ourselves that things will go wrong from time to time, and the true meaning of that often used phrase, learning the lessons, is about being able to take the messages when things don't go right and to help those shape and inform better decision making in the future. So there again, it's important to remember that it's not always going to work 100%, but that shouldn't drive us back to what Michelle Obama was saying in the earlier, or hinting at in the earlier quote. We shouldn't constantly be falling back on the what-ifs. A third and a fourth quote I'm going to mention will say the same thing but in slightly different ways. So a quote attributed to Sir Gerard. It goes along these lines: "Make decisions from the heart and use your head to make it work out." So start from the heart, start from the passion, then use your head to try and find the way of delivering on that passion. J.R. Rim said, "It's not about making the right choice, it's about making a choice and making it right." So it's a similar way of saying, make a decision, and then focus your attention on trying to make that decision as right as possible. It's important to remember that decisions are what spark action. Making those decisions is vitally important. But when we're talking about something like positive risk taking, then essentially we're talking about those desires, those desired positive outcomes that people want to achieve, but they're not that simple. There is going to be an issue of taking a risk in order to get there. So there is that kind of message about this heart and head. Make the decisions from the heart. Don't think of just a decision being right. Don't wait until everything aligns together so that we can go ahead 100% convinced that it's the right decision, because circumstances in life never do entirely align, and we become paralysed again by inaction. So decisions are about make them and take action. Make yourself move forward and work with the circumstances. Reappraise the decision. Make new decisions as you go along, but don't sit back in an inactive position waiting for everything to align itself correctly. So again, I want to finish off by saying the heart and the head. The heart is focused on those positive outcomes that positive risk taking is all about. Taking the risks is also then based in an appreciation of strengths, and that's where this strengths approach would come in, that the head is there to focus our attention on what strengths are accessible, what do we identify in ourselves, in people around us, that will help us to achieve those positive outcomes. So there's a few quotes to just help you to reflect and think about your decision-making process. And as usual, I would suggest to you, use those quotes, use that process to enable you to support people to take risks, very much focused on those positive outcomes.